I never thought I would be making this kind of decision at 35 years old. As a software engineer who built my own successful company, I have been fortunate enough to support my parents financially for the past 5 years, covering their mortgage, after my father lost his construction business. My 2 children, Jack, who is 7, and Lily, who is 5, are my world, especially since their mother and I divorced 3 years ago. I thought our family bonds were unbreakable until that fateful Thanksgiving dinner changed everything. As I share what happened that Thanksgiving evening that changed our family forever, let me know in the comments where you are watching from, and if you have ever had to make a difficult choice between family loyalty and self-respect. Growing up in suburban Pennsylvania, our family seemed normal from the outside. My father, Howard, built a construction company from the ground up while my mother, Margaret, maintained our household with meticulous care. From an early age, I noticed how my younger sister, Cassandra, Cassie for short, received preferential treatment. When she brought home B grades, there was celebration. When I brought home, as it was expected. This pattern followed us into adulthood. Despite this, I loved my parents deeply. When the recession hit in 2008, my father watched as contracts disappeared and his business crumbled. They nearly lost their home, the same one I grew up in with its fading blue paint and creaking front porch steps. By then, I had graduated from college, taught myself programming, and launched my own software company that specialized in logistics solutions for small businesses. The success came quickly. By 30, I was earning 6 figures and had investments that were performing well. When my parents fell behind on their mortgage payments, I stepped in without hesitation. At first, it was just helping with a few payments to get them caught up. Then one evening over dinner, my father broke down. "Nicholas, I do not know how to say this, but we are drowning here," he admitted, his calloused hands trembling slightly. "The bank is threatening foreclosure." That night, I made a decision that would shape the next 5 years of our relationship. I took over their entire mortgage payment. It was substantial, $3,000 monthly, but I could afford it. I wanted to give back to the people who raised me despite our complicated relationship. During this same period, my personal life was undergoing its own seismic shift. My marriage to Sophia, a brilliant marketing executive I met during a tech conference, had deteriorated. We had 2 beautiful children together, but our relationship could not withstand the pressures of dual high-powered careers and differing parenting philosophies. The divorce was finalized 3 years ago, leaving wounds that were still healing. The custody arrangement gave me the children for major holidays, including Thanksgiving. Jack and Lily were still adjusting to splitting their time between 2 homes. Jack became more withdrawn, his previous enthusiasm for science experiments dimming slightly. Lily developed separation anxiety, calling me repeatedly when staying with her mother. Their pain became my pain, and I dedicated myself to creating stability in their new reality. This particular Thanksgiving had special significance. It would be our 3rd holiday post-divorce, and I wanted everything to be perfect. I had originally planned to host dinner at my house, where the kids felt most comfortable surrounded by their toys and familiar spaces. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, my mother called. "Nicholas, we need to have dinner at our house this year. Your father is feeling nostalgic, and the family should be together in our home." I reluctantly agreed. The morning of Thanksgiving arrived with clear skies and crisp autumn air. I woke early to prepare our contributions to the meal. Jack helped mix the cornbread batter while Lily insisted on decorating the pumpkin pie with carefully arranged whipped cream swirls. I had also purchased special gifts for them, a microscope set for Jack and a stuffed unicorn with rainbow mane for Lily, planning to give these after dinner to make the day extra special. "Dad, will Grandma like my new dress?" Lily twirled in her burgundy velvet dress with white collar. "She will love it, Princess," I assured her, though a small knot formed in my stomach. We loaded the car with food containers and gifts, the children buzzing with excitement in the back seat. The 40-minute drive to my parents' suburban home passed quickly with rounds of I Spy and 20 questions. When we arrived, my father greeted us warmly at the door, hugging the children and helping carry dishes inside. The house smelled of roasting turkey and cinnamon, exactly as it had throughout my childhood. My mother emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Nicholas, you are finally here," she said, glancing at her watch, though we were perfectly on time. Her eyes raked over the children. "Lily, that dress looks a bit small for you." And Jack, "Couldn't you have combed your hair better?" I felt Jack shrink beside me. "The kids look wonderful, Mom." Lily picked out her dress especially for today. As we moved into the living room, I spotted an unexpected guest sitting on the sofa chatting with my sister Cassie and her husband Daniel. It was Tyler, my ex-wife's new boyfriend. My heart sank as I wondered how this stranger had been invited to our family Thanksgiving while I had to argue to have my own children welcomed. The dining table was a Norman Rockwell painting come to life, complete with the golden brown turkey centerpiece crystal glasses that caught the afternoon light and the good china that only appeared for special occasions. My sister Cassie sat with perfect posture next to her investment banker husband Daniel and their 9-year-old daughter Emma, who wore an immaculate white dress without a single wrinkle or stain. My parents beamed at them from the head of the table. "Emma just won the regional spelling bee," Cassie announced as we passed mashed potatoes around the table. "That is wonderful," my mother cooed, reaching over to pat Emma's hand. "She takes after her mother, always so accomplished." Jack perked up beside me. "I got an award at school, too. My science project about ecosystems got first place." My mother barely glanced his way. "That is nice, dear." She immediately turned back to Emma. "Tell me more about the spelling bee, sweetheart." I watched Jack's face fall, his small shoulders slumping as he pushed food around his plate. I placed my hand on his back, giving him a silent reassurance. "Jack worked really hard on that project," I said, trying to redirect some attention his way. "He built an entire rainforest ecosystem in a terrarium." My father nodded vaguely, but the conversation had already moved on to Emma's piano recital. Across the table, Tyler, who had no business being there, was engaging in animated conversation with my father about golf courses, a subject Howard had never expressed interest in before. As the meal progressed, Lily grew increasingly fidgety, sensing the tension around the table. She reached for her water glass, accidentally knocking it against the cranberry sauce bowl. The bright red sauce splashed across the pristine white tablecloth, a few drops landing on my mother's sleeve. The reaction was immediate and disproportionate. "For goodness sake!" My mother jumped up her chair, screeching against the hardwood floor. "Nicholas, can you not control your children for one meal?" This tablecloth was handed down from my grandmother. Lily's lower lip trembled, her eyes filling with tears. "I am sorry, Grandma." "Sorry does not clean this mess," my mother snapped, dabbing furiously at her sleeve. "This is exactly why children need proper discipline." I remained calm, though my blood was beginning to boil. "It was an accident, Mom," Lily apologized. "Well, if you had stayed with Sophia instead of getting divorced, perhaps your children would have better manners," she said, the words slicing through the air like a knife. The table fell silent. Even Cassie looked uncomfortable. "Emma never makes these kinds of messes," Cassie added after a moment, unable to resist the opportunity to draw a comparison. "Perhaps the children need more structure, Nicholas." I took a deep breath, trying to maintain composure for my children's sake. Kids spill things. It happens in every family. My father, who had remained silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. "Margaret, perhaps we could move past this and enjoy our dessert." For a moment I thought he was coming to our defense, until he continued. "Though, Nicholas, you really should work on disciplining the children better. They seem to be acting out since the divorce." The criticism from my father, who rarely voiced disapproval, directly cut deeper than my mother's expected outburst. "If you cannot control them at the dinner table," my mother continued, her voice rising, "then perhaps you should take them home until they learn proper behavior. I will not have my holiday ruined by unruly children." I stared at her in disbelief. "Are you seriously asking us to leave Thanksgiving dinner because of spilled cranberry sauce? I am asking you to control your children or leave," she stated firmly. "This is precisely why Sophia left, isn't it? Your permissive parenting." That was the breaking point. I looked at my children's faces, Jack pale with embarrassment, and Lily silently crying, tears streaming down her round cheeks. I stood up slowly, placing my napkin beside my half-eaten plate. "We will leave, but not because my children did anything wrong. We are leaving because I will not subject them to this treatment." "Now, Nicholas, do not be dramatic." My father interjected, his tone condescending. Your mother is upset about the tablecloth. This isn't about the tablecloth. I responded, my voice steady despite the anger and hurt churning inside. This is about respect, which clearly my children and I do not receive in this house. My mother's final words as we gathered our coats were perhaps the cruelest. This is why you fail as a parent, Nicholas. You never could accept criticism or discipline. Now your poor children will suffer for it. Jack and Lily were openly crying as we hurried out the door, leaving behind the pumpkin pie still in the refrigerator and the gifts still in the trunk. The door shut firmly behind us, and I heard the conversation resume inside, as if our departure was merely a small interruption to their perfect holiday. In the car, Jack's question broke my heart. Dad, what did we do wrong? Lily hiccuped between sobs in her booster seat. Does Grandma not love us anymore? I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, fighting back my own tears as I drove away from my childhood home. You did nothing wrong, I assured them, my voice thick with emotion. Sometimes adults behave badly, even grandparents. The drive home was mostly silent, punctuated only by occasional sniffles from the back seat. Eventually, exhausted from crying, both children fell asleep. In the rear-view mirror, their tear-streaked faces reflected the passing streetlights, and I made a silent promise that I would never let them be treated that way again. Sleep evaded me that night. After tucking Jack and Lily into bed, I paced my living room, replaying every moment of the disastrous dinner. My phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from Cassie claiming I had overreacted and ruined the holiday. I turned it off, unable to deal with more family drama. The next morning, the children were subdued. Instead of their usual Saturday morning cartoons and laughter, they played quietly in their rooms. Around noon, I found Jack in the bathroom practicing eating with exaggerated formal movements, carefully holding an imaginary fork. "What are you doing, buddy?" I asked from the doorway. He startled, looking embarrassed. "Practicing my manners so Grandma will like me better next time." Later, Lily approached me while I was paying bills at the kitchen table. Her small voice nearly undid me. "Daddy, does Grandma and Grandpa not love us anymore because me and Jack do not have a mommy and daddy in the same house?" I gathered her onto my lap, holding her close. "Grandma and Grandpa have their own problems that have nothing to do with you or Jack or our family situation. You are perfect exactly as you are." But inside, anger was building. I had spent years making excuses for my parents' behavior, especially their favoritism toward Cassie and their dismissal of my accomplishments. Now they were directing that same treatment toward my innocent children. That evening, my best friend Jason came over after the kids went to bed. He brought beer and a sympathetic ear as I recounted the Thanksgiving disaster. "Nick, man, I hate to say this," Jason said after I finished my story, "but this isn't new behavior from your parents. They have been manipulating you for years." "What do you mean?" "Think about it. You have been paying their mortgage for 5 years now. You buy them gifts, help with their bills. But have they ever once thanked you? Have they ever shown you the same generosity or even basic respect?" His words struck a chord. I thought about the countless times I had rearranged my schedule to help them, the financial sacrifices I had made, all while receiving criticism in return. The mortgage payments alone totaled over $175,000 over the past 5 years, money that could have gone toward my children's future. "And now they are treating your kids the same way," Jason continued. "Is that the relationship you want Jack and Lily to think is normal, to think they deserve?" That night, unable to sleep, I opened my laptop and reviewed my financial records. Beyond the mortgage payments, there were loans for my father's business that were never repaid, medical bills I had covered, and even luxury purchases like their Alaskan cruise last summer. Despite claiming financial hardship, they had somehow afforded new living room furniture and a trip to Florida just months ago. The next revelation came from my cousin Brian, who called to check on me after hearing about the Thanksgiving incident. During our conversation, he let slip something disturbing. "I hate to tell you this, Nick, but your dad's business failure wasn't as complete as they made it out to be. He managed to sell most of the equipment and property before declaring bankruptcy. Your parents have a separate savings account they never touch." The final piece came from my Aunt Susan, who called ostensibly to make peace. "Nicholas, your mother is just set in her ways. You know how she is. Though I will say she needs to be more careful about what she says at bridge club. Last week she was bragging about how they have you wrapped around their finger paying their mortgage while they build their retirement fund. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad calculator and 5 years of financial records. The truth was undeniable. While I struggled to balance child support, my mortgage, and saving for my children's education, my parents had been taking advantage of my generosity, while treating us with contempt. I barely slept wrestling with the decision before me. Family obligation weighed heavily, as did the voice of my grandmother, who always said, "Family comes first." But wasn't my first responsibility to my children to show them what healthy relationships look like? In the morning I called my financial advisor, Marion. If I stop paying my parents' mortgage, what are the implications? I asked her. Legally, unless you signed a contract promising ongoing payments, you have no obligation, she explained. Financially, that money could be redirected to your children's college funds or your retirement. Emotionally, that is a question only you can answer. That evening, I sat Jack and Lily down for a family meeting. "Remember how we talked about standing up to bullies at school?" I began. They nodded solemnly. Sometimes adults can be bullies too. And sometimes those adults might even be family members. Like Grandma and Grandpa? Jack asked perceptively. "Yes," I admitted. "And just like with bullies at school, we need to set boundaries with people who do not treat us with respect, even if we love them." The decision crystallized. I would no longer enable behavior that hurt my children. The mortgage payments would stop. The following Monday morning, I called my parents. My hands trembled slightly as I dialed, but my resolve was firm. "Howard speaking," my father answered on the fourth ring. "Dad, it is Nicholas. I need to speak with both you and Mom." "Can you put the phone on speaker?" I heard shuffling. Then my mother's voice joined the call. "Nicholas, if this is about Thanksgiving, we expect an apology for your behavior." Taking a deep breath, I launched into the speech I had prepared. "I am not calling to apologize. I am calling to inform you that effective immediately, I will no longer be paying your mortgage or providing any financial support." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by my mother's gasp. "You cannot be serious." After one little disagreement. "This is not about one disagreement," I continued steadily. "This is about years of disrespect, culminating in how you treated my children on Thanksgiving. I have supported you financially for 5 years without complaint, even while you criticized me and now my children. We are your parents," my father thundered, his voice rising. "You have an obligation to help family." "Yes, family should help each other," I agreed. "But that help should come with basic respect and appreciation, not criticism and contempt." My mother's voice turned tearful, a tactic I recognized from childhood. "We will lose our home, Nicholas." "Is that what you want? To see your parents homeless because your children cannot behave at dinner?" The manipulation was so transparent now that I could see it clearly. "You have savings, Mom. You took a cruise last summer and bought new furniture. Dad sold his business assets before claiming total failure. You have been using my money to build your retirement while treating me and my children poorly." Their shocked silence confirmed everything. "I have transferred the final payment for November. Starting December, the mortgage is your responsibility again," I stated firmly. "I am also sending a detailed accounting of all financial support I have provided over the past 5 years, which totals over $200,000, including the mortgage loans and other expenses." "You will regret this, Nicholas," my father warned. "Cassie would never treat us this way." "Perhaps not," I replied. "But I have to do what is right for my children and myself. I will not teach them that love comes with financial strings and emotional abuse." After ending the call, I sent a certified letter documenting all financial support provided, making it clear these were gifts, not loans, and that I expected no repayment. The letter also stated my terms for rebuilding our relationship, family counseling, and respectful treatment of my children. The fallout was immediate. Cassie called that same afternoon, her voice shrill with anger. "How could you abandon Mom and Dad like this? They gave you everything growing up, Cassie. You and I remember very different childhoods," I replied calmly. "I am not abandoning them. I am setting boundaries after years of financial support. They are devastated. Dad is talking about having to sell the house. They have options, Cassie. Their financial situation is not as dire as they have led us to believe. Extended family members began taking sides. Aunt Susan and Uncle Robert supported my decision, having witnessed the dynamic for years. Others called me ungrateful and selfish. The family text group exploded with messages, some supportive, others condemning. 3 days later, my parents escalated their response. A formal letter arrived from their attorney claiming I had created an implied contract by paying their mortgage for 5 years and was now legally obligated to continue. I consulted with attorney Amanda Peterson, who specialized in family law. After reviewing the documentation, she assured me my parents had no legal ground to stand on. Without a written agreement specifying ongoing payment obligations, your voluntary payments create no legal responsibility to continue, she explained. Their threat is baseless. Just when I thought the situation could not become more complicated, my parents showed up unannounced at my house on a Saturday morning when they knew the children would be home. Jack spotted them through the window and ran to open the door before I could intervene. "Grandpa, Grandma!" he exclaimed, genuine delight in his voice despite everything. Lily hung back more cautious after the Thanksgiving incident. My mother immediately knelt to hug Jack. "We have missed you so much. Grandma brought your favorite cookies." I watched in disbelief as they used my children as emotional pawns. When we moved to the living room, my father got straight to the point. "Nicholas, the kids miss us. This conflict is hurting them. Surely we can come to an arrangement." "What kind of arrangement?" I asked, already knowing where this was heading. "We thought perhaps you could continue the mortgage payments, and we could put this unfortunate Thanksgiving business behind us," my mother suggested, as if offering a generous compromise. I looked at my children's hopeful faces and knew I had to handle this carefully. "Mom, Dad, I am willing to discuss rebuilding our relationship, but it cannot be transactional. My terms remain the same. I would resume financial support only if we attend family counseling together to address the underlying issues." Their expressions hardened simultaneously. "We do not need counseling," my father stated firmly. "There is nothing wrong with how we treat you or the children." "Then I cannot resume payments," I said simply. They left shortly after, but not before my mother whispered to Jack, "Grandma and Grandpa might have to move away because Daddy will not help us anymore." Jack's confused expression as they drove away confirmed I had made the right decision, difficult as it was. Later that night, I discovered through my cousin Brian that my parents had been making minimum payments on their mortgage while banking my full payments for years, accumulating a substantial nest egg while claiming financial hardship. With the money that previously went to my parents' mortgage, I established proper college funds for Jack and Lily. I also created new Thanksgiving traditions, inviting friends who had become our chosen family for a celebration focused on gratitude and acceptance. The children asked about their grandparents occasionally, but with less frequency as time passed. I maintained my position that they could have a relationship with Jack and Lily, but only with respectful behavior and preferably in the context of family counseling. 6 months after the Thanksgiving incident, we had settled into a new normal. The children thrived in an environment free from criticism and comparison. Jack regained his enthusiasm for science while Lily's confidence blossomed. As for me, I found an unexpected peace in standing up for myself and my children. My parents eventually reached out again, this time with slightly less hostility. They had downsized to a smaller home they could afford on their own, finally taking responsibility for their finances. While we still had significant work to do on our relationship, that first step toward honest communication opened the possibility of a healthier connection in the future. Through this painful journey, I learned several vital lessons. First, financial support cannot buy respect or love. Second, allowing mistreatment teaches children to accept abuse. And most importantly, sometimes the most loving action for all involved is setting firm boundaries even when it hurts initially. Breaking the cycle of manipulation freed not just my children and me, but potentially my parents as well, forcing them toward greater honesty and self-reliance. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in years it was paved with authenticity instead of obligation. What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever had to cut off financial support to family members who took advantage of your generosity? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about family relationships and personal growth. And if you know someone struggling with similar family dynamics, share this video with them to let them know they are not alone. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that sometimes the most difficult choices lead to the greatest peace.